We're coming on to Live Impact News with some breaking news. We've been following this all morning. A new CMPD chief has been named. Now, we just found this out about 2 hours ago. Her name is Estella Patterson. She will be the first female chief to hold this position, but she is no stranger to CMPD. Our Nate Morbido is here. Nate, you actually interviewed her when she was here back in 2021, so you have some familiarity with her.
Yeah, we interviewed her in 2021. At the time, we were investigating the city's SWAT team and how the SWAT team in its execution of search warrants was only used in certain parts of the city, like not in South Charlotte, but in other places of the city. And so that was the overarching conversation. But during our about 12-minute interview, Stella Patterson, then the deputy chief, answered all the questions, was pretty confident in her responses, particularly when it comes to why the department operates the way it does, but also open to make adjustments when they learn new things.
Great sign.
Right. That's what you want out of a leader, right? Someone who is not stuck in their ways, willing to listen. And I actually just saw a few minutes ago, the Fraternal Order of Police said that during its survey of members for the police chief search, they heard this name a lot. Stella Patterson is a person they might want as chief. And you know morale has not been great.
Yep.
The vacancy issue has been a real problem for the police department. And essentially, in his announcement earlier today to police officers, the city manager, Marcus Jones, said she has done a great job as the former chief in Raleigh of reducing the vacancy rate. Again, a big issue because we are not operating with a full police force. Also having a successful clearance rate for all homicides. Violent crime, of course, top of mind. And here's what she told me back in 2021 about violent crime.
For us, not just to be in those communities for enforcement. We should really be in those communities for visibility. They should see us even before a crime occurs or an incident happens, so that they know that we are concerned with what's going on in their communities.
Are you all trying to reduce the amount that you use the SWAT team to serve search warrants?
In terms of reducing them?
Yeah, I mean, so from what I'm hearing from police sources and also from the Fraternal Order of Police, this is a person that they thought would be a good leader. As we have reported, you and I, a lot this year, there have been concerns about the outgoing chief. And
how that process went through, the transparency in that process itself.
Right, and transparency has been a big issue. And I thought that this was probably the right way to handle this. We were able to break this story because the city manager emailed all police officers to let them know, here's who we're going to hire. We're going to publicly announce it in a little bit. Here's what her priorities are. Here's why we're hiring her. So a good first step, too, from the city manager's office in saying, you all are the ones who are going to be working under her. We want you to know first before everyone else does. So I think that, they are really trying to move forward in a new way over there. There was some thought that maybe this would be an external candidate, and it kind of was. She left the department, and now she's coming back. But by all accounts that I've heard thus far, positive reaction to her being named, and also historic.
Yeah.
First woman, first African-American woman. Huge, huge news for the department.
I think it sounds like she got some, of course it'll be nice to talk to her again, but so got some valuable experience in Raleigh leading a department there. And you mentioned it, the success rate with clearing these homicides, 100% of them solved, or that is a huge percentage. Even just looking at this, you got this internal email. Patterson told city leaders top priorities here in Charlotte are reducing violent crime, which has been, of course, a big issue, enhancing community engagement, and boosting employee morale. So all things that it sounds like we've been talking about over the last few months, even the last year, that have been key issues, not just within the police force, but in the community as well. Yeah,
and she'll start on December 1st. And something we've noticed really since the retirement news of outgoing Chief Jennings is that he really hasn't been publicly available. He did speak in the last week or so in response to, I believe it was that crime spree, right, where an innocent person was murdered, right? That's the first time really we've seen him publicly where he's been kind of talking. And so it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure both he and Stella Patterson will be talking soon in the coming weeks, and they've kind of indicated that as well. The city manager indicated that. And actually, I was going to look up right now because the chief earlier did make some comments about this as far as his respect for her. I don't know if we have that we can pull it up, but I'm going to pull it up right now too, because to me, it's telling when someone who was a supervisor can talk about someone who worked beneath them and who's now going to follow in his footsteps. So here's what he said. It was an honor and sincere pleasure to serve as the chief of police. I'd like to congratulate Estella Patterson and proudly welcome her back to CMPD as the next chief of police. She accomplished great things during her previous tenure here, and I'm thrilled that she is returning to lead the department. As an internal candidate with external experience, Chief Patterson brings familiarity with the agency and already established strong relationships in the community. I look forward to supporting her and seeing all that she will accomplish for the department and for the city of Charlotte. And I think that's important too, the existing relationships.
And
right?
that will ease that transition as well. They know each other. He's clearly very supportive, saying he looks forward to working with her and seeing her grow in this role. I know that will be very helpful. And talking about the tenure that she had here, it was not short by any means, 1996 to 2021. So she's seen the city grow. When we talk about crime in the city, a lot of it people point to the way people have come into the city, how much Charlotte has grown without really infrastructure changing around it to help that. And so she has that unique experience too of just the history with the city, seeing it not just in recent years as it's grown, but what it was like many years ago before that spike in crime. So
and
really
let's not forget too that things really changed when those officers were gunned down.
Yeah, of course.
So this is a different department than she was at before, right? There's a lot of different concerns, a lot of different trauma that officers have been to. They lost one of their own within the department. And so that's also really important as they move forward, kind of respecting what officers think they need and know they need, but at the same time leading the department for what the city expects as well. And as, of course, crime in the city has become a national story now.
Yeah.
And she is now coming in at a right time to hopefully start maybe pushing some new initiatives to try and address that. And it sounds like Chief Jennings has been doing that in recent months as well. Although we haven't seen him as much publicly, there has been talk about changes CMPD has been making to try to address areas of violent crime.
I think too, just having the backing of the FOP is such a difficult endorsement to get. It's a very important endorsement to get, and so I think that will ease that transition as well. I know you and I will both be covering this in our newscast later. Is there anything else people need to know?
No, I mean, I'm of course curious of what her moving expenses will be, as I reported extensively.
To that point, I actually have a question. So, I think next week we're expecting to hear from Estella. I think
it's going to happen
next week.
Yeah.
What are y'all's, because y'all reporters, y'all usually in there with press conferences, what are y'all's first questions would be for the new
Yeah,
chief?
I mean, so I try to take a step back because like the investigative reporter doesn't just start going in,
Right.
and, pounding them with questions,
blazing,
right?
sure.
But of course, as I mentioned, this is a different department. It's a fractured department.
Has some baggage.
Right. What are we going to do to address the past and to move forward together? That to me is really critical because at the end of the day, we are the folks that matter, that they're protecting, and also the officers matter in their safety, right? We need to keep them safe, but we need to keep the community safe. It's such a complicated balance, and not one is more important than the other here. So I think that's really critical because it's a front-facing job, but it's also an internal-facing job, and the needs are similar in both safety, but they're also very different. So that's the first question I might ask. What about you, Julie?
I've never gotten a chance to speak with her, obviously, but you mentioned that she's just generally someone who seems to be accessible, and that's a really positive thing for this person in this role to have. I'm curious what transparency looks like for her in this department. Obviously, deputy chief is a different job. Raleigh is a very different city, although it's very valuable experience on both ends. I'm curious with her in this role, with her experience, with her history of being accessible, what transparency will look like for her in the department.
Right, and I was happy to see that she wasn't afraid to answer tough questions, but honestly, Chief Jennings, I interviewed him in his first few weeks of the job, and he didn't back down from tough questions either. So it's a complicated city that we live in. It's a complicated city politically. And so it'll be interesting to find the footing, but also address all of the concerns. Because what you don't want to do, while the FOP isn't a union, for example, they have a huge membership of police officers. And you want to be a confident leader, but you also want to listen, right? And the prior chief, Chief Kerr Putney, who was here when I first got here, was, almost defiant. He was so confident. And he was set in his ways. And some officers really did appreciate that. He wasn't willing to back down. And I think that Chief Jennings really has, for the most part, been that way too, except when it comes to internally. I think there's been a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see, Stella Patterson has the benefit now of hindsight and seeing what has worked, what hasn't worked. And, I like to believe that every person in a public official role is acting in good faith. They are trying to do the best possible job, right? And so I want to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Of course.
All of them.
Yeah.
And moving forward, it is not an easy job, and we are demanding public, but we should be. This is our safety, and this is our police officer safety.
It comes with being in a public office. And you mentioned it's not just this, it's all public offices. She's also coming into a different city government potentially. Not only do we have an election, but they also have the benefit of hindsight in the way this was handled. So curious to see if those changes at the city level will hopefully ease her transition even more.
Yeah, and as I said, a good first step that the city manager emailed the police department first. The city then announced it publicly. The current chief said some comments as well. Hopefully everyone's going to be available to talk next week. Again, it's so complicated. It goes from like traffic safety to event safety to violent crime to sex crimes. There's so many areas. School safety, that they have to focus on. And so I don't think anyone is saying, oh, she's not going to be capable of this job. I think they're very excited because
Yeah.
they know she's more than capable. That's essentially what the current chief said. That's what the city manager said.
It'll be cool to get the chance to hopefully talk to her next week and talk to some other leaders and see how they're feeling. But good news, it sounds like, for the city.
It's a good first step. I know people have been waiting on it, and now we can start looking forward, and it's a little bit less uncertainty, right?
All right,
good.
Nate Morbido, we'll see you again at probably all the newscasts.
I'll be on
both of
5
us.
and 6 for sure.
5 and 6. All right, Nate, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with some more headlines in 2 minutes.